Good day, my wonderful people. You're welcome to the channel. This is Yuglo Fashion. So this is the style my client wants to make, and I made this for her. It's one-sided shoulder Bubu dress. So please stay tuned and enjoy the tutorial. It's well detailed and it's beginner friendly. There's rubber at the sleeve. Please like and share the video as well. Thank you so much and remain blessed. This is the Kampala fabric I'll be using for this tutorial. It has two patterns. So first of all, I'll measure the length of the dress, and the length I'll be working with is 60 inches. So I measured 60 inches and I added 1 inch for my hem. So now I'll be working with 61 inches. Remember, the 1 inch is for the hem. And this Kampala, it's on fold. I folded it into two. So after folding into two, I also folded it into four as well. At first I folded vertically, then later folded it horizontally. So the two is, one is vertical and one is horizontal. So now you can see I have 4 folds here. Two will serve as the front, while 2 will serve as the back as well. So I'm cutting both front and back together because they are the same. There's no difference between front and back. Now after that, I went ahead to measure from shoulder to hip length, and that is 25. Shoulder to hip length is 25. I wrote that out. The circumference of the shoulder is 16. Those are the measurements we'll be working with today. So now the circumference of the shoulder, I said, is 16. Divided by 2 will give me 8. I went back to the hip length, then I marked the circumference of the hip, which is 40, divided by 4. That will give me 10 inches. So for the Bubu, or let's say Kaftan, I'll be adding like 5 or 6 inches. This depends on how big you want the Bubu to be. So I marked 6. You can do 5, you can do 6, you can do 7. It depends on how big or wide you want it to be. Having done that, I came back to the shoulder side and I measured from shoulder to where I'll be fixing my rubber. So I used 11 inches for that. At first I marked 10, then I added 1 inch which I'll be folding into insert where I will insert my rubber. And at the edge here, I measured 1.5 inch. I will have to make a slope there. I'm going to slant it back to the shoulder. Now I marked 8 inches for the shoulder circumference. So before I cut, I measured the neckline as well. The neckline I'll be working with is 3 inches by 3.5. I don't want it to be too wide, and I don't want it to be showing cleavage. So I think this 3.5 inches is okay according to what is in the picture. So now I extended the slant parts to the neckline. So now after cutting, ensure that it's well cut. Don't mind me, the scissors is not doing well. So now, it's one-sided shoulder. So in order to get that, I first connected it back to the hip from the 11.5 inches. I connected it back with just the curve shape back to the hip, and whatever I have at the hip circumference, I've added 6 inches to the hip circumference, so I marked the same measurement at the hem. So now I'll be cutting the bodies. So after cutting the bodies, I opened the fabric, I opened the folded parts. Now I want to reshape the neckline to give me the one-sided shoulder bubu that I mentioned earlier. So to get that, I marked, I first marked the circumference of the shoulder, which is 8, and if you notice, I've used 3 inches for the other side and this side as well, so I have to extend the chalk at one side to the 8 inches. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. One side is 3 inches, while the other side I slanted it to the 8 inches, which is the span of the shoulder. So now, after cutting the neckline, I placed part of the remaining fabric to cut facing. And for the facing, I just used like 3.5 inches for the sides, and I curved it out. So this is the facing for the 2. I cut 2 of this. Now to sew, I first stitched the neckline with the facing. I said you can, the front and back are the same, so I can't really say whether I'm stitching the front first or the back. I'm just stitching one side. So then after that, I stitched the hem of the facing. So I will iron this and add my hemming gum to it. After stitching the neckline of both front and back, I turned it this way to do the shoulder. Just ensure that they are well placed on each other. So now I've stitched the shoulder of both sides. The next thing is to stitch the sides of the bubu. So I joined both front and back together. For the side, in order to give easy access to work, I just left like 10 inches not sewn. So the part that I did not sew, I'm going to fold it this way. And stitch on it. So I will just change the thread because of the color of the fabric here. Having done that, I'll fold like this too at the hem. So this is the sleeve. I had, I left 1 inch for 1.5 inch for this. So I'll be folding it in this way. This is where the rubber will be inserted. So you can see after fixing the rubber, And after ironing, I told you I'll be ironing with my hemming gum, so I added hemming gum to the facing. So thank you very much.